right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear everybody's voices in person. Let me tell you. Welcome to today's School Safety Advisory Board meeting. How great it is again to see everyone here in person today. Appreciate everybody for taking the journey. Some of our journeys were longer, shorter, but everybody made it here safely. So I'm appreciative of everyone. It is 10 a.m. And therefore I will call this meeting to order. Please confirm this meeting is being recorded for public posting at the meeting's conclusion. Thank you, sir. Before we begin the roll call of advisory board members present today, I want to welcome two new members to their first meeting today. Dr. Brittany Patterson is replacing Dr. Sharon Hoover and representing the Center for School Mental Health at the University of Maryland, Baltimore campus, appointed by the Center for School Mental Health. Welcome, Dr. Patterson. And also Mr. Daniel Buck, who's sitting to my right, head of the Lucy School, is replacing Tom Albin and representing non-public schools. Welcome, Mr. Buck. All right, we will begin with the roll call of the advisory board members. So when you hear your name, just say present or here. Eric Ebersol.
Present.
Karen Bailey. Dr. Kelly Anderson. Pamela Gaddy.
Here.
Jaquetta Jacobs.
Present.
Natalie Miller.
Here.
Jennifer Wimbrow Jenkins.
Present.
Sheriff Matthew Christofoli. Chief Paul Kiefer. Leah Weiss.
Present.
Laurel Moody. All right. Dr. Tia McKinnon. David Engel.
Brent Phillips here on his behalf.
All right, thank you, sir. Zavariah Nokov. Dr. Brittany Patterson.
Here.
Megan Berger.
Here.
Daniel Buck.
Present.
Gina James.
Present.
Joseph Kamir.
Present.
Sergeant Kevin Britt. Dr. Maria Navarro. And Carol Ellen Johnson. All right. Welcome, Ms. Johnson. Please confirm we have a quorum.
Good morning. Yes, we do have quorum.
All right. The last meeting of the advisory board was in February. The February meeting was recorded, and that recording is available on the MCSS website. As such, there are no meeting minutes to be approved. Are there any additional minutes to today's agenda? All right, motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussions? All right, all in favor? All opposed? And any abstentions? All right, motion passes. The agenda for today it is approved.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, when someone is making a motion, if you could just state your name so that it's clear who's making the motion, who's seconding the motion. So,
Eric Ebersol. I moved.
Laura will use a second. Thank you very much.
All right.
Just so the record's clear.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. All right, so we will move forward with our agenda for today. We will start today's meeting with the MCSS Executive Director, Kate Bryan, reviewing a summary of accomplishments from the 2024-25 school year. Kate?
Thank you. So we've had an incredibly busy 24-25 school year. The team has been working nonstop, actually since July when we had our Prepare 2024 conference. So those of you there who attend, we really appreciate it. It was a fantastic event. So I'm just going to run through the highlights of what we've done over the last school year. A lot of our team is here, so if there are specific questions about any of the materials you received, we provided links in the slides to where all of these live on our website. If you have specific questions, the team is here where I can answer them. We also put, for some of the materials that I hard linked, put links to, there's actually hard copies on the table when you come in if you want to just peruse through them and leaf through them, they're there. So I'm going to start with our SRO training. So those of you that have been around since 2018, as you know, we started our first SRO training academy in the summer of 2019. That summer, the team, again, a very small team of 16 people, 6 individuals led the training of almost 1,000 school resource officers and security employees in the state. And that was the first year that they received this training that was set out by the statute, the Safe to Learn Act of 2018, developed by a multidisciplinary work group, and is really a standard throughout the nation. So we are receiving calls on a regular basis from other states about our training academy. Actually, last week, our head trainer was on the call with, I think it was West Virginia last week or Kentucky, one of them. So just some fantastic work that they've been doing. So this school year, they trained 54 school resource officers and 118 school security employees. So what does the training look like? Again, there was a link in your materials, but there's also a curriculum out on the table over there. So the SROs and the SSEs sit through some sort of pre-work. They read through some pre-work, then they go through a week of virtual instruction, right, where they're meeting virtually with both our instructors as well as subject matter experts from across the state. And then they have an entire week of in-person training. And it's really an incredible training that they receive. If anyone's ever interested in seeing the training or participating or just visiting, all you have to do is ask. They're more than happy to have visitors in the room, so please come. In addition to the training in person and the required academy, we also this year developed and implemented in-service training. So all of those individuals who received training in 2019 really hadn't been through any new or updated training since 2019. So the team implemented in-service training this year. So this year we trained 1,229, actually the number's a little higher as of today, in the in-service training. So just a fantastic amount of work, really led by 2 individuals who lead our SRO training academy. So really impressive work that they're doing. This year, with the help of some of our advisory board members, we are implementing an SRO of the Year program. So that award is going to go out at our Prepare 2025 conference. So we're going to recognize one of the SROs in the state. So that's very exciting. So we're very proud of that, which leads into Prepare 2024 and 2025. So this school year, we ran Prepare 2024 and then immediately started prepping for 2025. So doing call for speakers and doing some of the logistical work that's involved with our conference. We're really excited about 2025 this year. It's again at Turf Valley. So this will be our, well, we don't know actually. So we're in the middle of procuring a new location. So we may end up somewhere else. We may end up at Turf Valley, I don't know. But we'll be able to announce that in July. So that'll be July 16th and 17th. Again at Turf Valley, please, you're welcome to come. We'd love to have you. We have a lot of really fantastic content this year. So we're looking forward to it. And then this year we launched a pilot for our School Safety Leadership Academy. So this is a training that we provide to school leaders. So both our first cohort included both private and public school administrators. It was really well received. It was a 3-day course, but we were very cognizant of the time that individuals have to leave their school. So we did it over the course of 3 months. So 1 day consecutively over 3 months. So really well received. It was a great pilot. So we're going to use the feedback from our pilot course to refine the training, make improvements, so that hopefully when I sit here in 5 years, we talk about the hundreds of individuals that have been through that training academy, so leadership academy. So this year, we had a lot of reports and other resources that we implemented. So obviously in 2024, or I guess it was February, you saw our 2024 annual report. So we published that. That covers the calendar year. So everything we're talking about here is the school year, but our annual report is required to cover the school year, calendar year, excuse me. We relaunched in partnership with the Department of Education, Handle with Care. So Handle with Care, I think we had a presentation on that in November or possibly February. So Handle with Care has been around since 2018 in Maryland. So that is a resource and a program that's available throughout the state where if there is a student or a child who has to interact with law enforcement for any reason, either through a family situation, a traffic accident, anything, that officer can call the school and say, please handle Janine Johnson. There's no specifics, there's no details, it is simply hey, Janine's something happened yesterday, and just be aware that may be the reason that Janine's not behaving the way Janine normally behaves. So we've relaunched this in partnership with the Department of Education. So it's a program that's going to continue, hopefully in perpetuity, because we have a lot of really good feedback from our school administrators, from our law enforcement partners about how helpful and impactful the program is. We also published a lot of documents. So within your folder, I think it was in your folder, or you've seen this before. So this is our comprehensive approach to school safety flyer. And this is just the beginning of our materials that we'll be producing related to this. So this is if I didn't put it in there, I apologize. All right, fantastic. So this is really sharing with people that there's multiple layers and multiple components to school safety, right? It's not just the technology, it's not just the humans or law enforcement or security, it's also emergency preparedness, it's culture and climate, and it's those personal connections, both from the students as well as the staff. So you're going to see more about this as we divvy up and create more products related to that. So one of the other big accomplishments of this year that I'm, again, incredibly proud of the team. So last legislative session, there was House Bill 416, which put some restrictions on active assailant drills. So if you recall from last year, we talked a lot about it. So the primary purpose of the bill was to prevent simulations, loud sounds, and other traumatic experiences to be conducted when drills are being done. So there is now a prohibition on that in the state. Those can't be done in public schools throughout Maryland, and we encourage our private non-publics to follow that suit. So the bill required us to develop some guidelines for these drills, which we published that in October. It required us to partner with a Institute of Higher Education, and so we partnered with the National Center for School Mental Health, so thank you very much for that partnership. So Dr. Jerica Knox and her team have been doing literature research and are focusing on another component of the bill, which is a survey that is required to be sent out to parents, staff, students, and administrators as soon as a lockdown drill or active assailant drill is conducted. So the results of that survey are then collected by the National Center. They review that, and then the information that comes out of that helps guide our updates to the guidelines, which we have to look at and review. And then the final piece of the bill, so the survey is ongoing, so that'll happen every year. But the last piece was the safe firearms storage guide. So one of the other requirements is that we partnered with the state police to develop a material for parents, really, on how to store firearms safely. So we published that. I think that's also in your packet. Yes, Jessica's nodding. So that's also in your packet. So we published that, and that is required by school systems to be sent out at the start of every school year. So many of these things are going to be requirements year after year. So every year they'll have to send out the firearm storage. Every year after session, we'll have to look at that guideline and make sure there's no changes to the law, that we need to update any of the material. And then the literature review that the National Center is doing, as well as our guidelines, will be updated on an annual basis. So really, it was a heavy lift, but we did it, and I'm really, really, again, proud of the team for that. Any questions on 416? Okay. So we're still running Safe Schools Maryland, as you all know. So those of you who are new to us, that is our statewide anonymous reporting system. So it's available to every public, non-public special education and private school in the state at no charge. So it's a tool that they can use, that they can provide to their student, staff, and school community for individuals to anonymously report any concerns that they have about their school, someone in the school. I can't remember which meeting we talked about it, but we have been, since May of last year, have been running these now statewide tabletop exercises very successfully, I might add. So in May of last year, we held one for public schools. In August of last year, we held one for non-public special education facilities. And in October and February, although I think it got kicked to March, did it get kicked to March?
Oh,
The date changed because it was some weather. We held 2 for our public schools again. So really fantastic effort. It is, so just for context, so we sit in one space at our main office, and all of the school systems participate virtually. And so we provide the scenario and the questions and all the materials they need to have their tabletop exercise, and then they, independent of us, talk amongst themselves and discuss the scenario, whatever actions they're going to take. And it really has provided us an opportunity to get 24 school systems, as well as our non-public special education facilities, involved in more emergency preparedness efforts, which, as I mentioned, is on our comprehensive layers. So last year, with the help, actually over the last 2 years, since 2023, we've been working on our behavioral threat assessment work. So in 2018, we developed a statewide policy, the Subcabinet. In 2023, we published our behavioral threat assessment implementation guide. There's a copy on the table if you're interested. And then last fall, for all of last year, we had a work group supporting the development of the sort of this expansion guide of that, which is that the first implementation guide was related to students who pose a threat, and this one is adults or unaffiliated, folks maybe not affiliated with the school or adults in the school. So that could be parents, it could be staff, because there's nuances to that, right? There's different considerations that you have to give to that. So big thank you to our advisory board members that supported the development both of the original guidelines as well as the expansion guide. And then thanks to Delegate Ebersol, we were connected to the Community Health Practitioner Network. So we have been providing, we had our first session with their grantees and what was it, 2 weeks ago? Timing wise, everything's backwards. I think it was now 2 weeks ago because it's Monday. So that has been a great resource. So we're going to continue those trainings for them. And then we're also continuing to provide on the behavioral threat assessment front training, technical assistance, and other resources to our public and private partners throughout the state. So it's been a really fantastic. It's been really fantastic to see the sort of expansion and development of our BTA work. So, any questions on that? Yes.
On the one for community health practitioners, like who's invited to that?
So there.
Can we talk about it?
Yes, please.
So this is called the Consortium of Coordinated Community Supports. If you look it up, you can find it. It has, at one time, as much as $120 million annually. It's 90, I think, this year. Budget cuts. It finds community service providers who will come into schools or work with students outside of school to provide them with mental health needs, and they assess the needs in the community. All of that has to be done with the approval of local superintendents, and so they are brought in, and then there's a hub and spoke system where you have people you have a group in a center, oftentimes the local management board, but it can be something else that manages them and sets them up to do it. So it's kind of I want to say grassroots, but it's kind of organic the way it grows, where organizations that help children with all kinds of level, all 3 tiers, as we say, of level, I can go into all that. But one of the things that I pointed out to them at their meetings, I'm on that board also, is that you do have to worry about the safety of the people who are going into schools or who are working with students, and the safety of the students with those people. How are they vetted? Do they understand what they're doing? And I was pleased to think of MCSS, and you guys stepped right up. It was great to see the overlay of the 2 groups working on something else.
So it's like mental health providers.
It is
kind of
mental
like
health.
charities or Strive.
It can be charities, it can be LLCs also if they're working, but many of them are nonprofits. Many of them are. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a big list. I can drum it up maybe if I get lucky.
I have an idea.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share it with you.
So this is just to say, in the last school year, there's been a lot of activity going on, and this does not include our regular work, right? So there's, Gifty's laughing, data collection from Jan and his team of interns right now. Gifty, who oversees finance and grants, all of our grant administration, all of our other training work, all of our administrative work that we do, all the communications work. So again, really small team doing a real lot of work. So yeah, very excited, very proud of the team.
All right, I have to make sure my mic is on, so that's why there was a little pause. But thank you, Ms. Bryan, for the summary of the accomplishments. I know it was, like I said, we probably would be here for an hour if we really included the work of the organization, all the things that we've done this year. But I appreciate you for putting that in summary form for us. Does anybody have any questions any other questions for Ms. Bryan or anything related to accomplishments before we move forward to the next agenda item? Yes.
I'm just curious about the response to the surveys that went out. What kind of response have you gotten?
So most of it has been actually really good. That schools are doing the drills correctly. So they just went out, the surveys went out in January, and so we've had a little bit of roadblocks of them maybe not being sent out for the right thing, right, for like a fire drill instead of a lockdown drill, or sent out for a real lockdown versus a drill. So we're sort of fixing some of those issues. Part of the literature review, there will actually be a report. So once we have that for this school year, that'll be one of the presentations that we give to the advisory board is what did the survey say for the last school year? So you'll definitely get that.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Yes.
go ahead.
Congratulations on all the success over the last year. Incredible.
You guys out here, you're big players.
Yeah.
You know, my team, I said we are a large team, and I think that we like to engage in any ways that supports youth well-being, especially in schools. And so, congratulations on all the efforts. I'm newer, so I apologize for just not knowing. I'm curious about the training for SROs and SSEs. What's some of the content that's covered if you want to share?
Sure. So Ron, do you want to go through it?
Sure.
there's 5 topics altogether that are mandated, Safe to Learn Act. And they include such things as implicit bias, building positive relationships with kids. We've included a number more after that. The first year there's only 40 hours the first year. It's now 70 altogether. So we've added some courses on understanding ASD and IEDs, so intellectual disabilities, how to recognize some of the signs, symptoms, and how to communicate effectively during situations. And that's something we're hoping to roll this out. One of the conversations I think Kate mentioned was, one of the things we're talking about, not just in other states, but in the state of Maryland, is including this into the beginning, the academy that's given to every police officer in the state of Maryland. The normative adolescent behaviors also taught. It's mostly about how to communicate with kids and how to develop. And de-escalation is one of those mandated things. So if they're in some kind of confrontational situation, which unfortunately happens once in a while, they can kind of de-escalate that situation and not react as they would as they're trained to do. Sometimes at the very beginning of their careers. So changing the curriculum and mindset so they can work effectively in schools is the main function of this. And they're taught, and we reiterate again and again, that discipline is the job of the school system, not the job of the police officer. They have a different role, and their relationships are very different because of that. So that helps.
Absolutely, thank you. And there are 2 copies, so the curriculum is available online, so we have a link to sort of a description, but there's actually 2 copies on your, during the break or on the way out, you can take a look of all of the courses that we teach throughout the academy. Thank you. Sure.
Yes, similarly, huge congrats on all of the work. I just had a quick question for the pilot School Safety Leadership Academy. I guess what type of school staff did you see or did you train? Was it the school safety coordinators? Was it administration? I'm just curious.
So the majority of them were administrators.
Yeah,
We had a couple of safety.
specifically, we're asking for building leaders, and particularly for this first cohort, building principals, because we were really kind of looking for those individuals to be able to give some quality feedback, right, in terms of providing information, right, to principals as well as assistant principals, head of schools, right? So really the individual at the school level, the administrator who's leading the work within the school.
Good morning, Joe Cormier, parent of a student with disability. As a parent of a student with disability, very familiar with school-based services for speech, OT, PT, social work, etc. And Mr. Ebersol, I'm excited to hear more about this consortium for mental health providers to be brought into the school so that parents who don't have students with a disability can see the schools as a place where we can bring services in instead of parents trying to find services outside the school day, when we can get more social workers and counselors and psychologists in the school building. It's good for the community and it's good for students of all abilities. So thank you for pushing on that. I know that Medicaid is also expanding their program to allow students who qualify for Medicaid who don't have an IEP or an IFSP to use that Medicaid fund to help pay for that service. So I look forward to seeing that program roll out more.
Excellent. Any other comments, questions? This is good. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next agenda item. The next item on the agenda is the annual review of the advisory board bylaws. You received a copy of the bylaws in advance for your review. Does anyone have any specific questions for Ms. Johnson or Ms. Bryan, or would anyone like to make a motion to make changes?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Joe Cormier, I'd like the motion we approve the bylaws that they've been presented and submitted.
Do we have a second motion?
Eric Ebersol, second.
All those in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes for the approval of the board bylaws. All right. We're going to move on to the next portion of the agenda, I call this the rest of the meeting, you're being held captive by Michael Brown. So Kate, Kate and Kim gave me the opportunity to lead an exercise, and I think it's going to be very pivotal for us. As we talked about earlier, you know, there are a lot of accomplishments that we've had this year as MCSS, as an organization. But as we reflect, we always want feedback from this board in order for us to improve our work and how we're doing things next year or this year. So in that motion, there are a couple of things you will see on the slide here. This is something that was sent out. I want to make sure that we do get your feedback this morning in a couple different instances. So this first part, I am using Padlet, so you will see a QR code that is on the screen there. The idea around this is there are 3 reflective questions or prompts. One, reflecting upon the accomplishments from the school year. What are we most proud of? The second prompt or question, where do we see opportunity but perhaps not follow through? And lastly, what topics or voices were missing from our discussions this past school year? I know for some board members you are new, so this activity may be a little bit difficult, but we have gotten some responses, so I'm not going to read everything for you, but you can see on the screen, this is just an example of something that we received from a member. So I'll give you a moment just to read that totality, and then while you are doing that, please use the QR code if you have not done so already. Please leave your comments. So I'm going to give you all a couple of minutes to do that, probably 4 or 5 minutes. If you have questions along the way, please let me know, but take your time in response to those reflection prompts, if you could.
I can
Sure.
go back to the Padlet if somebody wants to do that.
If we could go back to that. So
I don't have my laptop. Is there a link anywhere in the presentation to it?
So I can send the link to.
I can forward it to you.
I can do work on it.
Yeah.
Do you get it from that email?
Yeah, I got it. I'll just send it every month.
Welcome to the classroom of 2025.
All right, we still got comments coming in. We'll give you guys another minute or two. But I appreciate everybody that's already put in comments.
So Delegate Emerson, he can see everything that's coming to him now.
Okay, so I'm spraying
Yeah.
All right, everyone. This does not mean that you have to stop making comments or whatever. I know some of you are still working, so please continue to leave your comments. I will touch upon a couple of these. I'm not going to read every last comment, but I do think there were some good comments that were shared. So we talk about reflecting upon accomplishments from this year. There was kind of consensus with a couple of people that they were very happy about the Handle with Care program. Very proud of that work. Also being a part of the SRO of the year selection process. It's wonderful to see our SROs, and the hard work they do in our community being acknowledged. There's also a comment about all the work related to research and guidance on guidelines for active assailant drills, including a focus on the needs of children with disabilities and behavioral threat assessment work. As we go on to the second question, there was a comment about the need to increase local EMS involvement with the tabletop exercises.
Yeah, I know we started that, and we had a really nice meeting in December with Kim and Cindy Wright Johnson at EMSC. And I think some of it has to do with scheduling of when the tabletop exercises are and when the local EMS have their meetings. But I just see that that's an important piece. Got some great feedback from one of our EMS partners. I'm not sure it was from Harford County or if it was from one of the Eastern Shore schools, that they did participate in the tabletop and they found it really, really helpful and interesting. But I think there's opportunities across the state to engage more of our local EMS partners in their emergency planning in our schools.
So if we get you the information about when the tabletops are happening, is that something you can share?
Yeah, I
with
think
community?
I think the February one was complicated
Yeah.
because of the weather, because I know I didn't get a chance to attend and I had hoped to. Yeah, I think the earlier we get those dates that we can get out to our local, EMS providers so that they can at least align somebody to attend. But I think that should be a goal in every jurisdiction to have somebody from EMS attend those. Makes sense. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Also, there's a comment about Handle with Care. I think there should be more promotion for the program, especially for youth in care or with CPS involvement. We could be using it more. Lastly, the last question yielded a lot of comments, one of which was the LGBTQ plus students and community groups who ally or support that subsection of our students' population. We need to include that facet to our discussion of mental health, anti-bullying, creating a cohesive and supportive environment for all students. Because it's so recent, how to protect and specifically identify our immigrant students. Trauma exposure and impact on brain behavior and interaction. This was one, school student on student violence. Could we provide training on how to decrease school fights, how to encourage better communication skills for teens? Maybe this will be in health class or focus groups of kids who've been in altercations at school. And impacted children and families, children who have experienced unsafe schools, whether through experiencing a traumatic event / harm, excessive school discipline, bullying, unsuccessful safety drill. Domestic violence. I think violence is on the rise with students in schools. More education about it and help students come forward. We can help mitigate this increasing into adulthood. Echoing youth violence. What is their experience of school safety efforts? What other topics are important for youth and the complex issues they are facing? So I appreciate, these are very, very good comments by the board. And this is the type of feedback that I think we want to try to dive into and have that same level of focus as we get ready to move into this next exercise. It is similar, a little bit different in nature, how we're going to go about gaining your feedback. But we do have 3 selective questions in 3 different categories. The first is visioning and future priorities prompt. What stakeholders should we bring to the table next year that we haven't yet? How can we more effectively elevate and incorporate stakeholders' voices into our decision-making policies and practices? So there are, if you look around the room, there are 3 areas where we have chart paper. So 1, 2, and 3 around the room. The idea of this is to kind of get everybody up and moving a little bit. We're sitting down for a moment. But each individual chart paper, we're going to go through each prompt. So each chart paper, we're going to divide into groups. Each chart paper, we're going to tackle each question. All right, so we're not going to move once you're in that group. And once you go to that chart paper, that is where you are going to stay. All right, everyone, thank you. We are back. And I want to thank everyone for participating in this activity. I think it was wonderful. It was great to see everybody up. Seems as though if we had a little bit more time, there was still writing happening, even though we were finishing up. So it just tells me that this board is active and this board has a lot to say and help us with the feedback as an MCSS, as an organization. So thank you all for doing that. As we move forward, it is our goal as a board to be able to categorize this feedback and hopefully be able to use that for future planning, for future meetings on what this board needs from MCSS and how we can work together moving forward. All right. So with that being said, I do want to continue on with the Michael Brown Show, and we're going to yet another agenda item. So if you look at your agenda, we're going to agenda item 2025-2026 Advisory Board meeting schedule. Our final agenda item is to determine the meeting schedule for 2025-26 school year. I want to begin by a discussion considering whether or not we want to meet in the summer. If so, when. This is something that we have done in the past. Again, we have new board members. This is a new year. So we just want to take those things into consideration. If you look at the slide, you can see the proposed meeting dates that we have. Obviously, if you see the trend, it is usually we are meeting in that first week of said months, but we want to make sure if that's something that we want to do, in August or not. Another topic of conversation once we consider what our next, what our pattern for meetings will be, is do we want to continue to meet in person? Typically this is once, but this could be more times in the year that we meet in person. It could be hybrid, it could be in person. We get to dictate as a board how and when we want to meet, basically. So I open the floor for discussion. Yes.
Just a quick question. According to the bylaws, the meeting dates, they don't coincide with your suggesting dates. So are we staying by what the bylaws are saying, or are we open to alter those meeting months?
So we could look at the bylaw. So what we have now, I think, is subject to conversation. I don't think, and Janine, correct me if I'm wrong, do we have to stick to the bylaws when we were talking about the meeting dates?
So the bylaws identify regular meetings are gonna happen the first Monday of the months of October, December, February, March, and June, which these dates look like they do coincide with that. So there's, I think the dates that we're talking about that are outside are the summer months.
Well, the April and the May.
So it's the March. So I think what we have here is do you want to have a March date when it's going to be during legislative session, or would it be better for the board if we were to do it during April, because it would be outside of legislative session? A lot of the board members are busy during legislative session, and it could just be easier to do it during April. And then if we are going to do it in April, the first April would be Easter Monday. So that's another consideration. So we are able to change the meetings if we need to, but these dates do coincide with what's in the agenda. It's just a matter of what the board would like to do.
All right. Yes, sir.
So I'm here on my director's behalf, so I don't know how much weight would I say carries. That April date, usually kids are on spring break and a lot of people try to take off, so I know I wouldn't want to come here on Easter Monday. August, a lot of people are taking some annual leave, those last few days of summer, so I would not want to come here in August.
All right. And any other comments about any summer meeting or summer dates? Because I think that will help us come to a consensus how we kind of move forward. Is everybody okay with, and also the time of those previous meetings, talking about October, December, February, and May?
Just say if we do an August meeting, August 11th, it just gets crazy at the start of the school year. That's we'll have 10 months, 11 months that have come back. You're trying to get your kids' backpacks and everything together, and if it's earlier in August, late July, as a parent, I would say yes, but anything closer to that start of the school year just gets bananas for everybody.
Okay.
The second is April meeting, would be impractical for a lot of us who travel. That's right.
I'm making this a working document for you when
Yes.
you're ready for a motion. So I took the April off. I saw lots of nods.
All right. So I guess what I'm hearing is summer is not a meeting date that, as a board, we will want to tackle, which is fine. Which leads us into that first meeting. We usually typically stay away from September just because that's the first month of the school year. There's a lot of moving parts going on at that time. So that heads us into October, December, and February. Is everyone good with those particular dates? All right, I see a lot of nodding heads with.
Yes.
So we were good with those dates.
I think the opportunity to do 3 of those meetings virtually is really a good one. I know other state agencies have a requirement once a year in-person meeting. And so I would vote for a in-person meeting at least once a year. and then the others, if possible, to stay virtual.
Does anybody have a comment with that as far as in-person versus virtual? Any preference with that?
First and last meeting being in person works really well for those winter months, trying to travel for Western Maryland, usually for it can be a little squirrely. So I think having a virtual option is good. But I love being in person. I love, working in person on these kind of things. You get more
I thought we had fun today. I don't know. I don't know. But so first and last meeting is something that we have done in the past before. And again, even though that's not something that's thrown out there, but hybrid is something that can be done, right? So we're talking about how we structure our meetings. Virtually hybrid being one of those things for those individuals that can't make it in person, they have the opportunity to log in and be virtual. So that's something that we also can do. My preference, I think being in person at least twice. I think one time in person, maybe that other option being something that we could do hybrid, right? So let's say the October meeting, that first October meeting, maybe that's a hybrid meeting. And then that last meeting in May being something that's in person. That's just my suggestion. We don't have to go with that, but that's just something that comes to my mind. Any other thoughts around that?
Is there a legal opinion on quorum if we're doing a hybrid meeting?
I'm listening and I'm reviewing the bylaws. I'm sorry, what was the question?
If we do a hybrid meeting, is that good for quorum? Yes.
Yes, and the bylaws do allow for meetings that are not in person.
Okay, so
And then the bylaws do state that the in-person meetings are going to be October and March, to be held at a location to be determined by the chair, but also electronic format is going to be available for the other meetings.
Okay. So as it sits, if you see on the screen,
I know. Should I move?
Thank you, Kim.
The two bottom dates, the March 2nd and the May 4th. Tell me what you want me to do with those.
So with March, because I know we talked about the legislative session, are we just moving that? Do we still meeting in March, or are we moving that? Move the date.
How many people could come to the March school? Not a quorum. I know we're meeting this year, so.
Good question.
So that second.
Is
Yeah,
there
so-
any consideration, I know we just passed the bylaws, but to make the bylaws a little bit more flexible for you to change, since we're talking about March being a legislative session and having it in person might be a little difficult.
So the language that's in the bylaws states that unless circumstances dictate otherwise. So if you decide as a board to dictate something else, you have that. But it said unless circumstances dictate otherwise, these board meetings are going to be conducted on these days in this manner. So if you decide as a board to have these meetings in this format on these dates, that is permitted.
So when we were going to meet that March 2nd, may be good, not good, but I mean, I don't know if we're throwing out the whole month of March, or we're just saying that first week is not good. The second Monday is the 9th.
Big question, is 4 meetings in the year enough? If you're talking about removing March versus 5 in March.
I think it's over to say until we're in the legislative session, right? I would say virtual.
Some to March,
So
sometimes.
that-
Definitely virtual.
And also keep in mind that the chair is able to cancel a meeting if you need to.
All right, so could we look at that at March 9th? March 9th?
It's really easy for me to do it.
1 minute, so let me double check. The school safety subcabinet, the governing board, meets the second Monday, but I just have to double check and see if we meet in March.
I wouldn't want to move too deep into March because again, then we start running into spring breaks and whatnot.
What if we took out March and add June?
So they are scheduled for that. And
Yes, the main date is in place of the June date.
Or we could stick with the second and, and we could do that virtually the second, and then if something is not working, then that's something that could be changed as far as canceled or whatever the case may be.
So March meeting really required that we just make the month prior, or just make it if need be? What's going to happen between the months?
You never know. Look, you never know.
Make it if need be.
Right.
And at the May meeting, we will have all of the final information relative to legislative session. We will also, in February, at least have a good idea of what major school districts are out. So we're worried about legislative session. We should have those covered in both February and May meetings. So it's really, again, if something comes up between February 2nd and March 9th, we all want to discuss.
I'm open to suggestions because for me, 5 meetings in a year I think is good. I think we just have realized that we're not going to meet in the summer, so it kind of condenses down the time frame when you throw out those particular months. So it seems like February and March is close, but that's only because we're not meeting, in June, July, and August. Which I think is fine to stay away from because again, there's a lot of vacations, there's a lot of things going on during that time. Again, we could stick to the second, and it could be virtual. And if we get to the point where there's not a lot going on, that falls on me to be able to have the right to cancel that meeting if there is not a lot going on. But if there is a lot going on and there is information that we need to share, then that gives us the flexibility to be able to still have that meeting. If that makes sense. Yeah. All right. So we could keep it on the books, and just know I don't know if we put an asterisk next to. I don't know if we put an asterisk next to that, but that's the meeting we have. So right now, October 6th, December 1st, February 2nd, March 2nd, and May 4th are our meetings. The first being hybrid, the last being in person, and the other 3 being virtual options. All right. Of course, I need a motion to approve our proposed meeting dates.
Chair, Joe Cormier, I motion that we adopt the 25-26 proposed meeting calendar.
All right. Do I have a second?
Laura, maybe I'll second.
All right. All opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Motion passes for the 2020.
I think you missed the favor.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. All those in favor, I apologize. All those in favor? All right. Any opposed?
Maybe I am now.
Any abstentions?
I will send you all calendar invites with those dates too.
All right, motion passes for 2020-26 advisory board meeting schedule is approved, which moves us into the last part of our agenda, which is closing comments. Again, this was a very, very good meeting. Again, very awesome to see everybody here in person. We were able to work through some very important topics today, and I think it's going to set the tone as we go into the rest of the year. I won't see everybody for a while, so I'm hoping that everyone is safe and sound and healthy over these next few months. By the time we meet again, I'm excited about where we're going to go as a board and working together with MCSS, what can be done. So I'm excited. And thank you all again for allowing me to be your chair. I appreciate that. And so, without any other comments for the group, anybody can make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Chair. Adjourn this meeting. Thank you for your leadership today.
Thank you, Mr. Kamir. And do we have a second?
Jaquetta Jacobs, second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any objections? Any abstentions? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.